The Library of Congress contains 16 million books. It's the largest library in the world, and yet every single one of those books is comprised entirely of the same 26 letters. Let that sink in for a second. 26 tiny letters that, when arranged in different combinations, create stories, adventures, universes, and emotions out of nothing. To me, that sounds like magic. My name is Miss Cutshall, and I believe that books truly are magic. And so many people in our country are missing out on it because they've simply decided, oh, I'm not a reader. When I hear somebody say, I'm not a reader, my response is always the same. You just haven't found the right book yet. When I say magic, I'm talking about a feeling you get reading these books. I'm not literally talking about real wizards and spells. Although Harry Potter is one of my favorite books. In fact, Harry Potter might be the series that impacted me the most as a reader. I picked up Harry Potter for the first time when I was 11 years old, the same age as the title character. I could not put those books down. I love the phrase getting lost in a book because that's exactly how it feels. I felt like I could get lost in the halls of Hogwarts. This is my childhood copy of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. As you can see, it is falling apart and held together with duct tape. This is a well-loved book. I think the book should look like this because that means they're being read. For me, this series opened the door to the world of reading. It made me wonder what other great stories are out there and what I'm missing out on. Now, fantasy is my go-to genre, but in middle school I was assigned The Witch of Blackbird Pond by Elizabeth George Spear. It's a historic fiction book. This is completely different from anything I'd enjoyed reading before. Also held together with duct tape, you'll notice. The story is about a girl named Kit who's growing up in the colonies in the late 1600s. I loved getting to learn about this time period through Kit's eyes in story form. It was way more interesting to me than reading about the colonies in a textbook. It's eye-opening to see the way she lives and how her life is so different than mine. On the flip side, sometimes I read a book where the main character is completely like me, and that is the case in Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. In this book, the main character, Kath, is a freshman in college, and the first time I read it, I seriously wondered if Rainbow Rowell had been secretly following around college-age me, writing down everything I did and said, because when I was reading it, that is how it felt. Reading this book, I am the main character. The things she's struggling with and the choices she's making, I can completely relate to, and it helps me understand myself a little bit better. So clearly I've explained that I love to read, but the bigger question is, who else is reading? Or really, who is not reading? There is a ton of data and statistics out there trying to answer this question, but my analysis is the same regardless. Not enough people are reading. This is a very famous infographic that's been flying around the internet lately with some staggering statistics about people reading. The first one says 25% of people over the age 16 have not read a book in the last year. A whole year without a book. One Washington Post article said, "Does it even matter if people are reading fewer works of literature? What if we're reading less Tolstoy but filling the void with, say, Facebook statuses from our friends and articles we read online?" It does matter. Some studies have demonstrated that reading fiction stories increase empathy, meaning you can feel what others are feeling. And a good book can do just that. It can give you direct access to someone's mind, like nothing else can. Another study showed that people who were stressed needed to only read for about 6 minutes before they showed visible signs of relaxing. Their muscles untensed, their heart rate slowed. Overall, the study discovered that reading decreases stress levels by 70%. We live in a very stressed out world. We need to be reading. Schools are doing their best at trying to instill good reading habits, often assigning reading homework every night, but kids after school have sports, activities, video games, and anything else they would rather be doing than reading. But what parents and kids need to understand is that a little bit of reading really adds up. Take this infographic, for example, and over a long period of time, 20 minutes a day is a lot of reading. My point in sharing all this data with you is not to discourage you, it's to motivate you. But maybe you're overwhelmed. There are so many great books out there, where do you even start? I'm so glad you asked. Here are some great resources. Check out the New York Times bestseller list for adult fiction, or try the Newbery and Caldecott Awards for kids' books. And while I said a few moments ago that Facebook cannot fill the void that reading leaves us in, there are some social media outlets to help us become better readers. Goodreads is a website that allows you to track books you want to read, track books you've read. You can connect with friends and see what they are reading. It even gives you recommendations of what to read next based on what you've liked so far. The thing that I have found the most encouraging recently is The Great American Read. It's a documentary that aired recently on PBS. The goal of the documentary was to find America's best loved book. So they started with a list of 100. You can find that whole list at pbs.org. And because I'm sure you're wondering, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee was the winning book, but Harry Potter came in third. I was pretty excited about that. All this to say, books are magic. They're a vitally important part of our education, our culture, and ourselves, and just not enough people are reading. So if you've given up on reading, I implore you, I beg you, please give it another try. Join Goodreads, find a book club, go to your library, ask for a friend's recommendation. Reading grows our empathy and ability to interact with others. It reduces our stress levels and increases our imagination. Reading makes us better. Thanks for listening.